Okay. Well, while we're doing that, my name is Joanne. So it is so awesome to have my regular faces here with us this evening and some new faces joining us. Just really happy to be able to share yoga with you all as usual. If you've been coming to my classes, you kind of know about the rhythm and pace that we move at. If you're new to me and you've never practiced yoga before, you've been practicing for some time, you are just going to make yourself as comfortable as possible with what you already know. So if you already do things a certain way, you already have modifications that you practice, please incorporate those into your yoga tonight. I'll always try to give as many modifications as possible, lots of options, but it's your body, your practice, so you make it work for you. I know a lot of us have things that we take care of in our bodies, and we want to be really mindful of that. So if any of our low back stuff, ankles, shoulders, wrists. Kathy, how are your wrists doing? Do they feel any better tonight? A little? Okay. We just make it work for ourselves, so.
I'm without the wrist guard, so I should be able to be a part of it.
Okay, good, good. Good to hear. Okay, we do have a couple other people joining us. Welcome, welcome. I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes. Hi, Haley, hi, Nancy. So like I said, if you have your regular yoga props nearby, please incorporate them in your practice tonight. So if you have yoga blocks, bolsters, yoga straps, you can always bring those things into your practice. What I'm gonna have in my practice tonight, you're good, Haley, I'm gonna be chatting for a little bit, take your time, is just stuff that you can find around your house. I'm gonna give us a minute to gather some things up if we don't already have those things out. And then I'll kind of give us a little brief overview of what we will be practicing tonight as well. So you can kind of mentally prepare for our class. And I want to do this. Okay. So I will mute everybody in a second. I'm going to keep you unmuted for now in case anyone has any questions as I waddle over. If you do not have a yoga mat, as some of you had mentioned, that's okay. If you are on a hard surface, a floor, you're going to want some type of blanket to be your foundation so you're not on the hard surface of the floor. Even if you have a mat and you're on a hardwood floor like I am, having a blanket or a towel will come in handy for extra cushion. I would like us all to have either just a bath towel from the bathroom or some type of throw blanket nearby. The other thing I want us to have tonight, if we have is a heavy book. If you have a yoga block, that's fine. If you have a cork yoga block, that would be even better. But I'm going to use a nice big book tonight because we're going to start off with some abdominal yogic breathing. And that was going to be a really nice way to give our body feedback with our breath and our belly. Box of tissues nearby, not a bad idea, especially when we get to some pranayama, we go into inversions. Cedar fever, for those of us in Texas, our yoga practice can help stimulate our sinuses. So that's a good idea. And then a pillow. So if you don't have a bolster, don't worry about it, but a nice big pillow off the bed will come in handy. The other thing I meant to grab and I didn't, and that's a washcloth or a scarf of some type for the end of our practice to use as eye covering. So towel, blanket, big book, pillow, and then if you have all the other yoga goodies, you can have them. To start off, we're gonna do a gentle supported Shavasana type pose, a variation of babbling brook pose. This is gonna be a gentle lift for the chest and heart. So it's gonna open up this area across the chest and the heart to counter the rounding and hunchback that we do, especially those of us that spend all day in front of a computer. So it's gonna give us that nice big stretch. We're gonna take support up the length of our spine and the back of our head. And I also want our legs to be supported. So we'll take our big pillows and place them to the front of our mat I'm going to show you the props first, and then I'll come over and check in with a couple of you. In my opinion, it's always better to start out smaller and then build from there. So if you're not sure what this pose is going to feel like for you, using your towel would probably be a better place to start. And we're going to fold the towel in such a way you can fold it short end to short end, long end to long end. We're trying to get into a long rectangular fold. And then I'm going to take my towel and fold it one more time lengthwise. So I have this long, skinny, rectangular fold. It's going to support my spine, the muscles running down the length of the spine, but it's skinny enough that when I lay on it, my shoulders are going to be able to fall to the ground. So it's going to give me that lift. And it's going to go all the way up behind my head. So I'm going to take my towel, long rectangle, and bring it to the top of my mat where my head and spine is going to be. Now, those of you that know that you want more and you want to practice something like Salamba Matsyasana, supported fish pose, you can, but I'm going to incorporate the abdominal breathing tonight. So if you're too high up, you're not going to be able to really get into the bigger belly breaths. So I would say keep it smaller just for tonight, but if that's what you need in your practice, do so. When we come into this pose, our low back and buttocks is going to be on the floor. I'm going to just kind of figure out where I am in space. The short end of my towel or my blanket, if I'm a little higher up, can have a few inches between it and the lower back, or you can bring it a little bit closer into the low back if you want a little bit more lift for the lumbar spine. We do want our head to be supported as well. So when I come down here, I'm going to loosen things up, kind of float my hips, lengthen out the lower back there. And then I want my shoulders and upper arm bones to come down to the ground, bending at the elbows. So we sometimes call this cactus arms. And then allowing the backs of the hands to flop to the floor here. So the back of my head is supported. I'm getting this gentle stretch and lift through the chest and heart. Arm bones flopping to the floor. My low back people, we can tuck that pillow up behind the crease of the knees, keeping the soles of the feet planted, even allowing the knees to fall together. Some of us like to go right into a little bit of hip opening, so you can add Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet touching, knees open, or simply stretch those legs out over that big pillow, feet nice and wide and feet flopping open. So I already gave you lots of options. Don't think about it too much. Just go into it, figure out your body, where it wants to be tonight. You'll know pretty quickly if you're going to be able to be here and relax. And before you get too comfy, I want you to take that big block book, whatever you have, and place it right on top of your belly button. Don't worry about it right now. Just lay it on top of the belly. So it's already there waiting for us. So once we're in position, once we have our book or whatever we're using on top of our belly, we're going to continue to kind of make little adjustments here as needed to get comfortable. So I always like to start my yoga practice with some centering and relaxation. Especially at the end of the day, it's really important to bring our awareness back inward, to reconnect with our body, our breath, and our brain. So just feel the weight of the body start to relax. Relax the muscles, loosen up the joints. Maybe give the head a gentle rock side to side, loosen up the muscles around the neck and the shoulders. Want to find the very back center of the skull. We'll close those eyes, allowing our hardworking eyes to take a break here. If you're like me and you tend to be a jaw clencher, go ahead and poof your cheeks up with air. Wiggle out that mouth, tongue, and jaw. Swallow a couple times. With this little bit of lift under the spine, we should feel a nice stretch through the front of the chest and the heart. Simultaneously allowing the shoulders, elbows, and backs of the hands to sink to the ground. If the backs of our hands do not easily touch, or one hand is a little higher up than the other, that's normal. Usually just due to those tight muscles across the chest and the shoulders. So after a few nice deep rounds of breath, those muscles might start to let go a little bit. So we're just kind of surrendering ourselves to gravity here. Continue to mentally move through the body, relaxing, letting go of any unnecessary tension and tightness we might find. All the way around the hip sockets, down those legs. If you ever need to adjust your legs from one position to another, feel free to do so. And as we're mentally moving through our body, we're just taking some inventory tonight. So being grateful and thankful that we're all able to find our mats on our own. And also accepting and acknowledging any areas that we might be healing or taking care of tonight. Remembering that we bring in the quality of santosha into our practice, or contentment. So being content wherever we are this evening. And now let's begin to spread our awareness to the rhythm of the natural breath. So simply observe and watch the body breathe. We'll try to breathe as smoothly and evenly as possible in and out through the nose. We might begin to notice the natural expansion on our inhalations as we breathe in fresh air, prana, and energy this evening. And we'll notice that natural contraction as we exhale, breathing away and letting go of stale old air and energy. So now I want us to concentrate a little bit more around the navel center and this abdominal breathing, also called diaphragmatic breathing or yogic breathing. Continue to breathe smoothly through the nose as best as possible. On our next inhalation, when we get there, we will relax those abdominal muscles completely and try to lift our book up towards the ceiling. So the belly is expanding like a balloon as we inhale. On our exhale, we're going to allow the weight of our prop and the weight of the belly to sink back down towards the ground, back into the body. Inhale, breathing, we relax the abdominal muscles, the belly expands. We purposely allow it to rise, lifting up our prop towards the ceiling. On the exhale, we can allow the belly to drop back down. We can also add a gentle contraction of the abdominal muscles, intentionally pulling that prop as close as we can towards the spine. Now we're all probably breathing at a little different rate from each other, and that's fine. I want us to also add our layer of Samavriti Pranayama for a few rounds. So that's even or equal breath. So when we get to that next inhalation, whenever that is, you're just going to mentally count the number that you're breathing in, expanding. And then when we get to that exhale, we try to mentally count and breathe out the exact same number as the belly draws back down into the body. Everything else perfectly relaxed, mind concentrated on the rhythm of the breath, the movement of the belly. Abdominal breath has a very strong effect on our nervous system, very calming for the mind and the body. It works with our diaphragm so that we can take deeper, fuller breaths, bringing in more fresh air and oxygen to the body. And it also helps wake up our digestive system, those abdominal muscles, which will come into play when we start to move our body a little bit more. And then we're all going to take one more cycle of breathing this evening. And this next round of breath, I want you to make it as big as possible. So let go of your count. The next time we get to an inhale, we're going to inhale to our maximum. So start to breathe in. Let the belly expand. Feel that rib cage expand. We should also feel that heart opening. And we're going to inhale, inhale, inhale all the way up to the brim in the throat. And when we can no longer take in any more air, we will gently and slowly start to exhale. And we're going to try to make this our biggest exhale of our day yet. So taking the time, putting some effort into this exhale, contracting those abdominal muscles to push the diaphragm up, and expelling all that old air out. Empty every last drop. At the bottom of our exhale, when all the air is emptied, gently let go of trying to follow and control the breath. It will wander away wherever it wants to go. Start to come back into the physical body now. So let's give our toes a little wiggle. Wake up the fingertips. Rock the head gently side to side. From here, some of us might be continuing to stretch our arms overhead for a moment, if that's okay, on your shoulders. So just reaching your arms overhead, straightening them out. And then if your knees are open wide in Baddha Konasan, let's float our knees up, and let's all try to straighten and stretch out our legs down the middle of our mat. And if you're on a prop, that's fine. You can start to point and flex your feet. The feet might even float up off the floor at this point. Give your body a little stretch side to side. We're just starting to create some movement and some space. Let's take one more big breath in. Spread those fingers, spread those toes, flex those feet and those toes towards the shin bones. On the exhale, slide those arms back down through cactus arms, and then reach for your prop on your belly and place it off to the side of your mat. We'll step our feet in. And then depending on how high up we are lifted, we might just be able to reach behind the thighs and hover our feet a little bit. If you are able to reach for your shins or your knees and draw them towards the body, you may do so. Just be mindful that if you're lifted up on a towel or a blanket, how that affects your low back. And then we'll bring our right arm beside the head. We're going to roll off of our prop, rolling off that towel or blanket into Supta Balasana, sleeping baby pose. So we're rolling all the way into our right side. Our head is going to rest on the arm. The left hand will fall to the floor in front of the heart. We're just going to pause here for a moment. And then turn your gaze towards the ground, press into the ground. Extending that top leg towards the front of the mat can help us to come up, and we're going to walk our body all the way up to a seated position. All right, so we are going to move right into a seat and be here for a few postures. We all probably need to sit up on some type of support. So like I said, if we don't have all the yoga props, take your folded blanket. A firmly folded prop or blanket is quite nice. If you have your other props that you normally use, go ahead and do so. The reason why we want to be propped up is so that we can sit up nice and tall. So once we find our support here, we're going to sit our sit bones up on it. Now we can come into Sukhasan, which is our easy cross position. Siddhasan is heel to heel, or any other position that you're able to maintain a nice tall spine. Move the flesh out of the way. We want to equally balance our sit bones on our prop. Continue to feel this opening through the chest, and just let the head float on top of our shoulders. Let's float the fingertips out to the side of the body, turning the palms up to the ceiling, connecting to the breath again. Inhale through the nose, big reach up towards the ceiling. Just a nice big stretch. Turn those palms out and exhale, float those fingertips back to the floor. Moving right into Uppabishta Trichonasan, seated triangle pose. Do draw the lower belly in to support that back. Inhale, just the right arm reaches up to the ceiling. Keeping that right sit bone rooted, we're gonna lean over to our left, moving in this lateral plane. We should feel that stretch the waist, the rib cage, and shoulder. Inhale, use your muscles to pull you up through center. Switch arms, keep that left sit bone rooted. Exhale, lean it over to the right, stretching the whole left side. Inhale, pulls us up through center. Exhale, big stretch. Now our drishti or focal point can stay forward, down, or upwards. Just keep the neck in line with the spine. Breathe it in. Another big exhale, one more time over to our right side. Next inhale, we'll pull both arms straight up towards the ceiling. Bring the palms to touch and exhale the hands to Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Those of us that are cross-legged, I invite you to switch the cross of your feet because we always tend to sit the same way. Equal weight in the sit bones, low belly pulling in, sit up tall through the crown of the head. Our seated flowing twist. Inhale, both arms up. Keep this length on the exhale, rotate and twist to the right. The fingertips can move towards the opposite knee and behind the body, but there's no weight in the hands. We're going to continue to twist through the neck and the eyes. Peek behind you. Inhale, bring everything back up to center. Exhale, twist everything to the left. The shoulders and the chin should remain parallel to the floor. Open the eyes as wide as you can, stretch them out, peek behind you. Inhale, pulls us back up to center. One more time to each side, exhaling. Twists are a wonderful way to release tension all the way up and down the spine. Inhale, bring it up. Another pose that helps to promote healthy digestion in the body. After that last exhale and twist to the left, again, we'll meet on our inhale, both arms reaching up, palms touch. Exhale to our center. So we're gonna make a bigger transition now to tabletop or Chaturasana. We can get there however we want. If we wanna crawl forward, give your legs a stretch out, and then we're gonna have to do some rearranging in our space probably. Again, if you're not on a yoga mat, you're gonna want some extra cushion, so use your blankets underneath your knees. Even if you have a mat, always welcome to put a little extra cushion underneath the knees. So we're gonna turn our body into a table. Strong arms for the front legs of the table. Our thigh bones are gonna be the back legs of the table. Fingers, we want them to spread out wide to help disperse that weight through the wrists. And the hands are broad as the shoulders. The knees are stacked right underneath the hips, and our toes may be tucked under for more of a stretch for the feet, or toes pointed to stretch out the ankles. Now press into the ground so that we can feel the muscles in our arm bones doing some of the work. Be mindful of where the head is in space and continue to draw in slightly through the lower abdominal muscles. So this is a third movement we should do every day for our spine. We already did lateral extension, rotation. Now we'll move into some flexion and extension with the breath. On our inhale through the nose, relax the belly, lift the tailbone up and stretch the spine all the way up to the crown of the head. Drishti moves forward. On the exhale, pull the belly in, scoop the tailbone under, round the back up to the ceiling, drawing the chin to the chest, drishti to the belly button. Find your rhythm. So your inhale is going to guide you into a gentle back bending cow pose, help decompressing our spine, improving our posture. Your exhale is going to scoop, tuck, and round to the back, stretching out any tension in the muscles. Try to get those hips in there, so some pelvic tilting, movement between the shoulder blades. Good, just use this pose to loosen things up. Even a little lateral movement side to side can feel quite nice. Let's balance ourselves out. And then bring the body back into a neutral position. So before we do a little bit more work here for our upper body, let's sit back in our Balasana or Child's Pose. So point the toes. Wide Child's Pose is going to be a nice one to take. So we'll open our knees as wide as our yoga mat. I'll give us lots of modifications here. Some of us will be able to simply draw our sit bones back and down to our heels and continue to extend the fingertips forward to the front corners of the yoga mat. We'll then melt the belly, the heart, and the head all the way down to the ground, getting a nice big stretch for the lumbar spine, around the hips, and again through the heart and the shoulders. Those of us that take care of our knees, sitting back to our heels is not an option. We may simply keep our hips up and bow down onto our forearms, resting our head into our hands. Or take your folded blanket or your pillow behind the crease of your knees, so there isn't as much pressure there. The other thing I want to have happen is your head should be grounded. This pose is a wonderful pose to help reduce stress levels in the body, to decompress after a long day. It has wonderful calming effects for our nervous system as well. But we want the forehead to be grounded. So if it does not touch the floor, stack your fists, your forearms, or some type of prop under the forehead. Feel the breath moving around the back side of the body here. We're allowing the body to sink towards the ground, but we might be keeping some extension through our fingertips for those of us that are reaching to the front of our mat. And this is a wonderful pose to come back to at any time during our practice when we want to just come back and check in with our breath or our body. So let's all take one more breath here. Our next inhale, re-extend the fingertips forward, float the head, float the body back up. Coming back to tabletop, stack the knees underneath the hips. The arms are strong, the fingers are wide. Tuck those toes under. We're gonna move towards the back of our yoga mat. So those of you that have been coming regularly, we have been doing a little bit of the slow flow work. I'm gonna slow it down tonight, and we're gonna do a little bit of work for our backs this evening. So from our strong tabletop position, walk the hands about 1 hand's distance forward, so the arms are more at an angle. On our inhale, low belly is engaged. We're gonna glide forward into a kneeling plank. So this is a strong pose. We're pressing the ground away from us. Our head should be in line with the spine and a straight line from the crown of the head to our knees. To check our alignment, lift those knees up and visit full plank for a moment. Super powerful pose. On the exhale, drop the knees. We're gonna rock back to a bow. So this is not child's pose. What I'm doing is I'm drawing my hips back, melting the heart down. The head can reach towards the floor. We can come into Hasta Bandha, picking up our palms, and that will give our wrists a stretch. So this is our exhale. Inhale, glide back forward to kneeling plank, or pick up those knees if you want. Feel even more power and strength in full plank. Exhale, drop the knees down if they're lifted, pull the belly back, hips back, bow the head towards the floor, lift the palms if you want that extra stretch for the wrists. Inhale, kneeling plank. Stay in kneeling plank. Exhale, bend those elbows straight back. This is a half chaturanga dandasana. We are coming all the way down to our bellies tonight. We're gonna try and go nice and slow. Good. Chin forward, point the toes, flatten out the tops of the feet. Keep your feet wider than your hips if you take care of your low back. Otherwise, zip the feet and the legs to touch like the tail of a snake. Squeeze your elbows in, shoulder blades together, they reach down the back. Inhale, breathing, tighten up the muscles of the upper back, mid back, low back. Lift the heart, Bhujangasana. Even use your glute muscles to support the back. Now tonight, we're gonna hold our Cobra pose. Do not hold the breath, so you have to keep breathing. Figure out how to breathe in this pose. This is actually diaphragmatic assisted back bending. So every inhale we take, we should feel like we could lift up a little higher. If you need to take a break, you flare your elbows down and you simply drop your head down. Otherwise, keep squeezing the shoulder blades together. Extend the crown of the head forward. Your legs should be nice and strong. Those of us that want to breathe and go a little step further, lift your hands up, pull your elbows in. Strong back, cobra, reaching up out of the grass. Couple more breaths, Shalabhasana, those arms beside the body. So now I'm reaching my fingertips to my heels. My palms are facing down to the ground. Everything is engaged, super strong back line of the body. Let's take one more big breath in. Exhale, we're gonna take a prone Shavasana. So we'll turn the head one direction, doesn't matter. Relax the arms down beside the body, palms up. Let the heels fall open and observe and breathe. So if you notice that your heart rate went up a little bit, that's totally normal. So those back bending poses, they are energizing, a little bit more powerful, but still really important to practice every day. Gently turn the head the opposite direction to counter twist the neck for a moment. Take one more breath. Breathe into the abdomen. Let the belly expand. It'll press into the ground and it will translate into the low back. Inhale, chin forward. Slide those hands back underneath the shoulders. Squeeze the elbows in. Flatten out the tops of the feet. Feet wide for low back people or zip together. One more time. Strengthen the back. Inhale, lift the heart. Bhujangasana. Moving into Sphinx Pose. This will be a little bit bigger of a back bend, but a more gentle version. Slide your elbows straight forward under the shoulders. So those upper arm bones should be perpendicular to the floor. If we take the webbing between our thumbs and index fingers and turn our hands in, you should be able to grab a hold of those elbow creases. So from the front, you should be able to take a hold. We can continue to knife the pinky edge of the hands into the ground. Some people like to flatten their palms to the ground. Now, Sphinx Pose, again, is decompression for the spine, really healthy way to counter a lot of sitting in our lives. The back of our body is going to relax at this point. So I want you to relax the glutes, let the heels fall open. Our arms are going to do the work. I want us to intentionally press the forearms down into the ground and then pretend like you're trying to drag your elbows into the torso. They're not going to move anywhere, but we should feel the spine start to lengthen as we move the crown of the head forward and up. We'll even feel a stretch through the abdominal muscles. So we should feel like we're being pulled forward and up, creating space between the vertebra of the spine. Relax the buttocks, relax the legs and the feet. Take a nice deep breath in. Drishti gazes straight forward. On the exhale, try to peek over the right shoulder and see how far you can see. Little ringing out for our neck tonight. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, look over the left shoulder, see how far you can see. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, one more time, twisting the head to the right. Maybe we could see a little further. Stretch your eyes out as well. Inhaling to center. Exhale, one more time to our left. Inhale, gaze comes back. Exhale, plant the hands under the shoulders, bring the face down to the ground. Now tuck those toes under, draw the low belly in. We're gonna try to push our body back up off the floor. So scoop the tailbone under, elbows are close to the body, push yourself up, moving to maybe a semi-kneeling plank. We're gonna bring the knees right back underneath our hips and take some baby cat cows. So give your back a time to adjust. On the inhale, little sway in the low back, little lengthening from the tail to the crown. The exhale, this will stretch those muscles. Take your time, round the back up to the ceiling, chin to chest, drishti to the belly. We can do a couple of these. If we feel like we need to sit back in a variation of a bow or a child's pose to stretch out the back a little bit more, please do so. And then we'll all meet back in our tabletop. Toes are still tucked under. Knees are hips width apart. Hands walk about one hand's distance forward. Draw that low belly in, press into the ground. We're gonna float our hips up, back, and down. Adho Mukashwanasana, downward facing dog. So this is an inversion. So if we had to take care of our blood pressure, heart conditions, glaucoma, this pose might not be for you. You can always come back down to that tabletop or the child's pose, okay? Adho Mukashwanasana, big stretch for the whole back of the body, getting that blood flow flowing to the brain. Big stretch for our back and the backs of our legs. So really ground through the mound of the index finger and thumb. There's some internal rotation here in the forearms. Simultaneously, externally rotate those upper arm bones away from the ears. So you're pulling your shoulder blades down the back so the neck is long and loose. Draw the belly in, belly towards the thighs. Bend your knees deeply if you need more space for the spine and if you feel like it's pulling on your low back too much. If we need to open up the eyes of the knees more, let's pedal our heels, one heel at a time, and walk our dog. So you can straighten one leg, bend the opposite knee, sink the heel to the floor, and that'll give you a nice stretch up the back of both legs one at a time. Need to take a break, you take a break. Simple as that. And then we are going to pause and find some stillness in our resting pose for our breath. Whether those heels touch the ground or not, let it go. Just allow the heels to sink towards the earth. Let the heart melt. Maybe draw the drishti back towards the feet. Our next inhale, we gaze forward. We take our time and we baby step or walk our feet to our hands to our feet. Some of us are going to end up and stay in Uttanasana, a deep forward fold. Others of us are going to modify for any low back issues or any other reason. Maybe we're done being upside down by bending our knees deeply and placing the elbows or the hands on the thigh bones. Totally fine. If we're continuing to be upside down, you may relax the head and the arms, but the legs must stay strong, equal weight in the feet. Start thinking about those lower bandhas or locks. So Mula Bandha, pelvic floor muscles living in and up. Uddiyana Bandha, lower abdominal muscles pulling in and up. Tonight, we're going to articulate our spine to come out of our forward fold. So we're all going to bend our knees slightly. We're all going to place our hands on our thighs with our fingertips turned in. Tuck the chin to the chest, and it's going to be really important to breathe in as you come up. So inhale, breathing, press your feet into the floor, use your strong legs and core, and you're rounding up. So we're stacking the spine one vertebra at a time. Inhale, inhale, inhale. When you come upright, give your shoulders an intentional little squeeze up. And then exhale and fall away from the shoulders. Once you come up to standing, if you get lightheaded, see stars, sit down. Better to be closer to the floor than further up from the floor if we get lightheaded or dizzy. All right, so we're in Tadasana. Feet are hips width apart, parallel to each other. Arms floating just slightly off to the side of the torso. Tonight, we'll turn our palms forward and spread those fingers nice and wide. So we can over-exaggerate this little strengthening between the shoulder blades. Again, especially those of us that have been hunched over a computer all day, but don't lose contact here with the core. So we don't want to be hyperextending the low back. We're still drawing front body to back body, lengthening the upper buttocks down. Unlock those knees. If you like to jam your knees backwards, unlock them, straight legs. Let's pick up our toes and spread them nice and wide. Rooting through the mound of the big toe inner heel, mound of the pinky toe outer heel. So the body's working here. It's working to stand tall, to feel balanced, but no tension in the face, the neck, or the throat. It's just floating on top of our shoulders. Let's come back to our breath. If your toes are still up, great. They can melt back down to the ground. I'm a toe picker-upper. On the inhale, turn your palms out, reach your arms out, and all the way up to the ceiling. Bring those palms to touch and exhale to your center. We're going to move right into some balance work, palm tree pose. So fix your drishti or focal point on one spot. Inhale, turn your palms out. Reach out and up. This time, lift your heels up. Reach, reach, reach. Exhale, try to slowly come down. If we feel a little shaky, wobbly, totally normal, follow that breath. Inhaling, we're reaching up on our tippy toes. On the exhale, we're trying to resist gravity a little bit to lower down. Let's try one more round. We'll all meet on our exhale. This is where we'll catch up. There's no hurry. Hands in front of the heart, heels down. Now open those feet just a tad wider than the hips tonight. We'll lean our body weight over to the right. And the right leg is gonna push through the floor. So the whole right side should get super strong. And you'll notice that the left side gets a little lighter, hopefully. So when you feel that strength through the right side and the lift in the left side, start to lift and lower the toes of the left foot. Let's hover our arms out here and just try to create a little balance. Keep your gaze very focused. We can stay soft in this position, or we can move out into Tadasana or star pose. So now I'm going to use these muscles even more, my obliques and abductors, lifting my left leg, reaching my arms out into a V, spreading those fingers and toes. Notice the breath. We just still stay connected to those lower bandhas, pulling in and up. Take one more nice big breath in. On our exhale, we're just going to try to land as softly as possible. The feet can stay a little wider than the hips. Come back to Tadasana or mountain pose. Equalize the weight in the feet. Turn the palms out. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lean into that left leg and then push it through the floor. Push it through the floor and feel all those muscles get super strong. And this side should get a little lighter. When it does, start playing with your balance. Relax the arms. See if you can float a little bit. You're always welcome to use a wall or a chair or something to assist with balancing. Staying soft or energizing a little bit. Flexing the foot, spreading the toes, engaging the whole right side of the body. Reaching those arms out into a V, like a big shining star. And if we're a falling star tonight, we just bring ourselves back up. Big breath in. Exhale. Lower down as gently as possible. Keep your focus and concentration. Fix your gaze. Pause in Tadasana. Turn the palms out. Inhale, reach up. Big stretch, palms touch. Exhale, hands to heart. This time, step the feet and legs close together. We're moving right into Vrikshasana. This balancing pose, a little bit more calming pose, doesn't mean it's easier. Draw in and up through the pelvic floor, lower abdominal muscles, stand nice and tall. Hover the right heel from the floor, keeping your pelvis and hips level. At that hip socket, angle the knee out to whatever degree you can, squeezing the outer thigh to buttock. Now we may keep our roots touching the ground tonight. We might gently paint that foot up into the ankle or the inner calf. Please avoid pushing the sole of the foot into your standing knee. If you'd like to reach for the foot and hook it to the inner thigh, you may. Now relax all the muscles of the face. Let the core and the lower half of the body be the tree trunk, nice and anchored and weighted, and let the upper half of the body be a little free, a little light. You may even add some branches reaching out. We may even add some movement into our pose to challenge our balance even more. Our balancing poses, super wonderful for our brain power. They help improve our concentration, our memory, our brain functions. A lot of mental effort here. We'll all take one more nice deep breath in. On the exhale, do your best. Bring your hands back to heart center. Point the knee forward. Try to extend the foot out. And then lower it down. Pause and Samastitihi, standing stillness pose. Inhale, draw a nice big circle. Turn the palms out, reach out and up. Exhale, hands move back down to heart center. Lock into those bandhas, pull them in and up. That will help strengthen, tone, and balance the body. Left heel up, at the hip, knee opens up. Ideally, we will place this foot in the exact same place we did on our first side if we can remember. If it doesn't go where you were, don't force it.
Hips and pelvis should remain level, so try not to sink down into one or the other. Keeping that drishti fixed on one spot. We can play a little bit with our pose tonight, adding different arm variations, or even trying to throw ourselves off balance here by adding some movement side to side. Awesome, good. Notice the breath. We'll all take one more big breath in. And we'll follow our exhale. If the arms are out, bring them back to center. Knee points forward. Extend through the foot. Lower it down. Pause and breathe. So try to avoid any unnecessary movements or fidgeting. We are training the mind and body to concentrate and be still. Inhale, breathing. Big circle, palms out, reach it up. Drishti to the thumbs if you want a little gentle back bend. Exhale, pull everything back down to center. So some of us moved around for our balancing pose. We're going to start transitioning back down to the ground. So I'd like us to meet back towards the top of our yoga mat. So we can just walk ourselves back forward. We're going to come back into our traditional Tadasana pose with the feet hips width apart. Knees unlocked, front body to back body, heart open, ears on shoulders, shoulders over hips. Back to the breath. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Drishti to thumbs, gentle back bend. Exhale, we'll micro bend our knees, hinge from the hips. Draw your arms back, down, and around to your Uttanasana. So some of us pause halfway. We don't go all the way down to a forward fold. Others of us are going to allow the body to melt back down, coming back into an inversion here with the head below the heart. We'll take a breath or two, allow the backs of the legs to get a nice big stretch. Allow the shoulders and neck to kind of loosen up here. Bring the hands under the shins. Inhale, lift the heart, squeeze the shoulder blades together, just like we did earlier for Cobra Pose. Try to iron and flatten out the back. Good. Now on this exhale, we're all gonna bend our knees as deeply as we need to, take extra steps as needed. And we wanna bring our hands to the ground and take a big step back, 1 foot at a time. We're gonna meet in our favorite pose, which is plank pose, of course. So those of you that know what plank you wanna practice, we're gonna try to hold our planks for 30 seconds tonight. We can do anything for 30 seconds. You may be in a straight arm plank with the fingers spread wide, knees up. You may have your knees down, but you still got to be drawing that low belly in, strongly pressing into the earth, and the head should be in line with the spine. Taking care of wrists, come down onto your forearms, and weave all 10 fingers, and be in a forearm plank, hovering. And I'm starting the count now. So think happy thoughts, press the ground away from you. We're all in this together. Keep breathing. Press those heels back, crown of the head forward. Shoulders are strong on the back in any version of your plank. We're already halfway there. Keep smiling and breathing, feeling that strength from the inside. Feeling a little shaking going on? That's normal. Protect that back by pulling the belly in for 5, 4, 3, 2. Inhale. On the exhale, float those hips back from downward dog and full plank, or float those hips back to child's pose from kneeling plank. If you're in forearm plank, you can bring yourself back to either down dog or child's pose, and just breathe. What do we observe? Heart rate went up a little bit, a little heat in the body. Just come back to the breath. One more breath in our resting pose, whatever that looks like for you. If you're in Mukashwanasana, inhale, heels up, stretch out those toes and those feet. And the exhale, we'll bring the knees down, pointing the toes, and trying to move the body back into our more traditional child's pose with the knees touching, hands coming back to the feet, and the head bowing to the ground, dropping the weight of the upper body and arms over the lower body. If you take care of your knees, it doesn't work for you for whatever reason, find a position that does. One more breath. Hands into the shoulders, tuck the chin, articulate and round up through the spine. One vertebra at a time. The head should be the very last thing that comes up. You may transition through tabletop as well. Shift your hips over to one side, doesn't matter. Bring your feet forward. So we're going to visit one seated pose, and then it'll be time to come back down onto our backs. The seated pose we're going to practice tonight is Konasan. This is a hip opener. We are probably going to want to have some support again. So I have my folded blanket. It's going to give me about 2 inches or so to sit up on. When you're sitting up on your prop, you do want to be sitting to the front of the prop, not the back of the prop, because we're using it as a wedge to lift up our pelvis. I'm even going to add my towel on top of my blanket because I know I'm going to need more. The higher up you go, usually the better, but then we just need to be mindful of our knees. So soles of the feet are going to come to touch. I'm going to scooch back so my feet are on my softer mat here. Again, move the flesh out of the way, try to find those sit bones. So when we get into this pose and we're hunched and rounded and getting totally out of alignment, we need to sit up higher. So I need to go up higher because I can tell I can't sit up tall. So if you have yoga blocks, you can use those. I'm going to grab my meditation cushion because I am really tight and not very flexible at all, especially in my hips. All right, I can sit up so much better. It feels so good. And it's okay, my knees are kind of floating in air, but I don't have any tension around them. So draw the soles of the feet to touch. The degree of whether your heels come closer to the pubic bone or not, again, is gonna be more based on your flexibility. But we should be able to keep our spine long and tall. There is no rounding of the back in this position. The heart should still be open. Some of us might want to take our fingertips beside our hips and actually try to lift ourselves up, floating a little higher up into the front of those sit bones. From here, hands can rest on the feet or ankles. And if you're already in this position and getting a pretty big stretch on those inner thighs around the hips, we will stay right here. Over some time, we're going to hold this pose for a little longer and breathe. As these muscles start to lengthen and stretch, if you can keep the length in your spine without rounding the back, you may try to hinge at the hips. So I'm not rounding and looking down into a little ball. I'm lengthening the body forward. And I'm pressing the soles of the feet together. And I'm not pressing down into my thigh bones with the weight of my upper body, but I am energetically drawing my thigh bones into my hip sockets. And some of you have a lot of space to go, so don't necessarily hold back either. Just make sure that you're moving into the pose without compromising any spinal alignment. If your hands are walking all the way forward and your belly, heart, or head is getting close to the ground, you can add additional props to make that connection or just allow gravity to kind of traction you out. All of us should continue to draw that low belly in to protect the back. We'll take 1 or 2 more nice deep breaths here. On that next inhale, especially if you've gone further forward into it, walk your hands back. Use your hands to help bring the body back upright. So we can come back to a vertical seated position. We'll bring our hands to our outer thighs and step our feet wider than our hips. Bring your fingertips back behind the body, rest into your fingertips, and Just windshield wipe your knees a couple times side to side, loosening up the hips. If we're set up on some props, we're going to bring ourselves off of our props and slide those off to the side of our mat. We want to come to the middle of our mat so we have space behind us. Now, the safest way to come down onto our back would be to lean to one side and walk the body down and end up on your back. Those of you that have been doing the roll down with me, you're more than welcome to do that, planting the feet, knees open, reaching those fingertips forward and using the core to come down. But the goal is to end up on our back. So once we get there, you might need to rearrange ourselves on our mat, loosen up the clothing. If you have ponytails, you need to move them out of the way so they're not twisting the head. Straighten out the legs down the middle of the mat. Bring the arms overhead. We'll come into our long body stretch for a moment. So again, you're stretching side to side, spreading the fingers, flexing the feet, toes to shin bones, just trying to create a lot of space here in the body. Breathe it in. On the exhale, we'll float our arms down. Draw the shoulder blades under. Walk the feet in. Draw the belly in to hug the knees in. Hands behind the thighs if that's better for your knees. Rock side to side here, stretching out the low back, giving those back muscles a little massage. Bring the knees to center, extend both legs up to the ceiling, and Viparita Karani, Waterfall Pose. Take a hold behind the thighs to help hold the legs up. Press the thigh bones forwards into the hands to try to get more of an intense stretch up the backs, the legs, opening the eyes of the knees. Even massaging up and down those hamstring muscles that can be quite tight. Point and flex the feet a couple times. This is another inversion, another pose. It's really wonderful to help reduce anxiety, stress levels, decrease depression. It can bring a nice calming, peaceful state of mind, especially at night. This is a nice pose to practice if we have trouble falling asleep or sleeping. Sometimes called legs up the wall because you can scoot your bottom up to a wall, slide your legs up a wall, and just pause and hang out there. And now flex those feet, toes to shin bones. Hold the outer thighs. We're going to open our legs into Supta Konasan. So this is a pretty big stretch. Use your hands as support for the weight of the legs. Inner thigh groin muscle stretch with gravity. Roll the ankles a few times. Shoulders should be relaxed. Face should be relaxed. Deeper stretch. Move the hands to the inner thighs. Massage those muscles. Press your heels out. Pull the toes to the shin bones to intensify that stretch. Take a nice big breath in. On the exhale, squeeze the legs back together into Waterfall Pose. Bend the knees. Keep the feet parallel to each other. Extend the arms out from the shoulders like the wings of a plane, palms down. On the exhale, lower the knees to the right. If the knees do not easily touch, slide your pillow or blanket underneath the knees. Now sink that left shoulder back down into the ground. Turn the head to the left. Close the eyes. Let gravity wring out the body. Just like taking a washcloth and wringing out any residue. Relax the face, the mouth, the jaw, the throat. Next inhale brings the head and the knees back up to center. You may lift one knee at a time. We might need to drop our feet back to the floor and readjust our low back so our head is in line with the spine. Hug those knees in, feet stay parallel to each other, arms out like airplane wings. Lower the knees to the left. Use any props as needed. Sink the right shoulder back down into the ground, turn the head to the right. Let go, let gravity wring the body out. Slow, deep breaths. And really focus on the exhale to let go. Our next inhale will bring the head and the knees back to center. Make sure the head is back in line with the spine. We'll wrap our arms across the shin bones, finding opposite wrists, forearms, or elbows. Floating the nose up to the knees to give our body a nice big squeeze. Thanking our bodies for everything they just gave to us. And filling ourselves up with gratitude for everything we just accomplished. Take a nice deep breath in. And on the exhale, we are going to let our body flop and sink back down to the ground. So for this next few minutes of class, we're going to take a final relaxation pose, which might simply be Shavasana, rolling the arm bones out beside the body, palms up, fingertips curling up naturally. Straightening the legs out and open, letting the feet flop open. If you'd like to come back and add some props underneath the knees, the head, or back, please do so. It can often feel quite nice to place pillows and blankets on top of the body for Shavasana. If you gathered up an eye covering, please use that as well. Shavasana, corpse pose. Most important pose that we practice. And we do practice this posture. So we put as much effort and concentration going into this pose as we did every other asana that we practiced tonight. Purposely laying our body out with as much symmetry as possible. Finding the very back center of the skull. Poofing the cheeks as needed. So for this evening, I'm going to guide us through a little bit more relaxation and Shavasana. Give us a few moments of silence. I'll use the singing bowl to bring us out of Shavasana, where we will practice one more pranayama and just a few moments of seated meditation. You are more than welcome to stay in Shavasana during that time. So once you've made all your adjustments here, we placed our body into a comfortable position. We want to cultivate stillness. Letting go of controlling the body. Letting go of controlling the breath. Relax all the tiny little muscles across the face. Smooth the skin of the forehead and brow. Relax the eyebrow center. The eyeballs sink into the sockets. With the lips softly touching, release the tongue and lower jaw to gravity. Feel the weight of the arms sink into the ground, relaxing all the way down from the shoulders, into the elbows, wrists, hands, and fingertips. Relax the throat, the heart, and the chest. Relax the back of the heart between the shoulder blades, all the way down the back into the low back. Relax the belly completely, all of the abdominal muscles and the internal organs. Noticing a very subtle rise and fall of the belly with the breath. Relax the larger muscles of the buttocks, the hips and thighs. Feel the weight of the legs, relaxing all the way down from the hips to the knees, to the ankles, feet, and toes. Relax the whole body. The breath is easy, quiet, and calm. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath, giving ourselves permission to take just one more moment of today to let go, to feel a sense of surrender, and to sink into Shavasana. Some of us may choose to stay in Shavasana for the next several moments. If you'd like to softly begin yourself out of Shavasana, to come up to seated for a round of some pranayama and seated meditation, we'll just start to naturally come back to our breathing and start to breathe life back into our body, gently waking up the toes and the fingertips. A little rock of the head side to side. Try to move slowly, mindfully with the eyes closed so that we can keep our attention inward. Taking a quick stretch with the arms overhead, lengthening the body side to side. And then floating those arms back down, walking the feet in, hugging the knees in to rock out the back. Allowing the right arm to fall beside the head, rolling and pausing for a moment in Supta Balasana, cradling the head on the arm. Left hand falls to the floor in front of the heart. And then again, trying to keep the eyes closed or soft, we'll press them to the ground and bringing the body back up to revisit any comfortable seated posture. You may slide some support one more time underneath those sit bones. Once we're in our seated position, you may come back to Sukhasan, easy cross, or any other position for the legs, as long as we can sit up nice and tall, the crown of the head. We'll bring the hands into chin mudra. So if you need to softly open the eyes to see what that looks like, you can. We bring the index finger to touch the tip of the thumb. The other 3 fingers are extended. And we rest the hands on the knees, either palms facing up or down, whatever feels most natural for your body tonight. And this evening, we're just going to sit with our breath and our concentration for a little bit longer and come back to this abdominal breathing, our yogic breathing. So first, just to start us, notice the breath flowing in and out through the nose. If it helps the mind concentrate, you may place one or even both of your hands on the abdomen. On our inhales, we'll relax the abdomen completely, allowing that belly to expand like a balloon. And on our exhales, we will contract the abdominal muscles, drawing the navel back inwards towards the spine. As we inhale, we relax the belly. It expands like a balloon. This allows the diaphragm to drop down, pulling that breath deep into our lungs. On the exhale, when we contract and pull the belly inward, it pushes the diaphragm up to expel the old air out. Again, you will find a comfortable rhythm with your breath and body. You may add a very soft Ujjayi Pranayama in the base and back of the throat to help the mind concentrate. You may mentally count the rhythm of the breath, evening and equalizing the inhale to the exhale. You may also mentally repeat a personal mantra over and over again. So we will sit for just a couple more moments, and then again, I'll use the singing bowl to bring us back out. If you stayed in Shavasana, you can begin to come back to the natural breath. Start breathing life into the body, making any gentle movements to wake the body back up, giving it a stretch, drawing knees to chest. You'll want to pause just for a moment on your side in sleeping baby pose before you join us in a seated position. Those of us already in our seated position, notice the posture, restack the spine up to the crown of the head. Notice the connection of the lower half of the body with the props and floor below. Try to keep the face very relaxed, the attention inward. Once we've come to a seated, we'll float the arms out beside the body, being mindful of our surroundings, turning the palms back up to the ceiling. Let's take another deep breath in through the nose. This time we're reaching those arms all the way back up to the ceiling and gathering up everything we need for the rest of our evening. Turn the palms back out. Exhale, float the arms all the way back down to the ground and let go of all that other junk we don't need this evening. And then one more time, inhale, sweeping the arms up, bringing the palms to touch, exhaling the hands to the front of the heart into Anjali Mudra, humbly bowing the head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and being grateful to anyone else that made it possible for us all to connect this evening and practice our yoga together. If you'd like to join me in chanting the Om Shanti mantra, please do so. Otherwise, just sit with the breath for another moment. Taking a deep breath in through the nose to begin. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. And I thank you all so much for joining me as usual with our regular crowd and for all the new faces we had tonight. It was such a pleasure to have you all join us. I will stick around here after class for any questions or comments, remembering to take our practice with us into our evening, continue to move mindfully, drink lots of water, take some deep breaths. And
thank you, Joanne. Thank you.
Welcome, Chaya.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
Thank you.